So, Sophia, you will be our first.
सीताराम कहिए जाहि विधि राखेरा ताहे विधि रहिए सीताराम 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 कहिए जाहि विधि राखेरा ताहे विधि रहिए सीताराम 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 कहिए चाहि विधि राखेला काहे विधि रहिए सीताराम 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 कहिए सीताराम 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 कहिए चाहि विधि राखेला काहे विधि रहिए चाहे विधि राखेरा चाहे विधि रहिए सीताराम 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 कहिए चाहे विधि राखेरा चाहे विधि रहिए विधि का विधान जान मानी लाभ सही चाहे विधि रखेरा चाहे विधि रहिए सीताराम 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 कहिए सीताराम 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 कहिए चाहे विधि रखेरा चाहे विधि रहिए सीताराम 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 कहिए सीताराम 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 कहिए चाहे विधि खातिरा चाहे विधि रहिए चाहे विधि राखेरा चाहे विधि रहिए सीताराम 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 कहिए सीताराम 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 कहिए चाहे विधि राखेरा चाहे विधि रहिए हो चाहे विधि राखेरा चाहे विधि रहिए हो चाहे विधि राखेरा चाहे विधि रहिए
For the Prakashi, beautiful as usual. Before the next bhajan, we ask our president to say a few words. The president making his way. I want to give our shrotas a nice round of applause. These little girls here, children of Sabrina ji, and I just told them last week, they need to sit here, and they came also prepared. They are growing up in this mandir so devoutly. They are the future. So we're so proud of them. Thank you, Sabrina ji, also for encouraging bring them here. And give our musicians also a nice round of applause. Right time to
Sitaram. First of all, give our Vyaas Shri a big round of applause, please. I'm very partial to him. I'm extremely partial to him. He is Dr. Mohan Narine. Went to Stony Brook University and got his doctorate in neuroscience. Not a mean achievement. I think there were like 5 people in the class, and he was one of the 5. Is that marvelous, beautiful? Give him a big round of applause, please. And he did not forget his religion, right? In fact, he used all his learning, his teachings and everything to bolster his belief in Hinduism. He's a great example to all of us, as are the other Pandits who have been reading here since the beginning of the week. So we are very proud of all of you, extremely proud. And tomorrow we have another lion, another giant coming here, young Vishnu Ramprasad. He is going to really rock this place. And I'm looking forward to that. I can't wait to tape him. So tomorrow at 12 o'clock, we're starting to show on television some of these readings, these pravachans. And tomorrow we'll kick it off with Pandit Dilan Raj Buduhi will be the first. And I have shared the link with quite a few people here. You already have it in your phone, because some of you don't have ITV, but the link you have on the phone, so you click the link on your phone, you can see the whole program. You don't have to have ITV. So tomorrow we'll start with that. And then next week, Pandit Vinesh is going to take over next Saturday, not tomorrow, the other Saturday. And then we'll go on like that, so that eventually we'll show everybody week after week, so that the world can see this. Because when it's on TV, we have a lot of viewers that can relate to what we're doing here with the Shri Trimurti Bhavan. Because if you have a good product, you have to brand it. Branding is important. And we are branding this on television, it's on social media. Next year, I know that we can make other artifacts, towels, cups, all these different things, mugs and all of that, and just put it our young people all over the world, not only here, all over the world, South Africa, Africa itself, the African continent, and they all have great love for him and great respect for him. So we are very proud that he should be part of Shri Trimurti Bhavan. And I agree with him wholeheartedly, and I'm sure by Vishnu as well, that Pandit Prakash ji has come up with this idea to have a youth concert. I think it's going to be marvelous, beautiful. We support it 100%. I can't wait for it to happen, so that we can also showcase what the young people have done in terms of music and dance and everything classical, appropriate and relevant to the community. So that is something we're looking forward to. And finally, I can relate to what our Vyaas said when you tried to get that ferry today. I can relate to that, because one day it was winter, it is winter, place is freezing, long line to get the bus, I'm in the line to get the bus, can't find the Metro card, don't know where it is. I have $2 in my pocket, and I'm saying, oh my God, I have to get into this bus, and then I have to go and ask people for change. You know, can you change $1? Forget it. That's the most horrible thing, because I've witnessed other people can't do it. So what is going on with me here today? This is crazy. So the lady, so there's a long line, and pray for a miracle. Pray for a miracle, pray to God now. So the lady in front of me, when she went to put her money in, the machine broke. Machine broke. Driver can't fix it. So she went in free, and I walked in free too. The Lord answered the prayer right here. So these things happen, and I relate exactly to what you're saying. So once more, thank you very much, and we'll see you again tomorrow night.
Me getting my doctorate. Aside from my parents, there's Elsie. She's right there on the column. She is the program administrator there at Stony Brook University in the program in neuroscience. She supported me the whole way, make sure I was sane, make sure I wasn't going crazy, and she continues to support me outside of the university as well. So thank you very much, Elsie, for coming.
So Elsie, could you please come forward and say a few words to our congregation? Yeah, could you please share your thoughts with us? We would love, for the sake of...
Short message.
Please. You very shy? Thank you very much. Thank you for all your assistance and your mentorship and your inspiration. Thank you very much, and pleasure having you here tonight, joining us. So, and please come again when that opportunity is well. So we're going to have one last bhajan and then we'll start.
Sophia, followed by Uncle Neil, all the way from Ghana.
छोटी छोटी गैया छोटे छोटे पाँव छोटी छोटी गैया छोटे छोटे पाँव छोटा सा बैलो छोटी गैया छोटे छोटे पाँव छोटी छोटी गैया छोटे छोटे पाँव
ख्वाहिश तेरी जाऊं कहाँ मेरा जीवन सारा तेरे ख्वाहिश तेरे जाऊं कहाँ मेरा जीवन सारा तेरे दर में मैं आया मोहन आया मेरे वास्ते तेरे दर में मैं आया मोहन आया मेरे वास्ते प्रभु मेरा
Jai Sitaram, everyone. Tonight we will be delving into the Lanka and its pertinent messages with practical implications. A little bit about our Vyaas. He is no stranger to this community. He is the son of our Dharmacharya and our Guru Maji. Pandit Mohan is not only an inspiration to myself, but also to everyone that is pursuing the medical field. He has extensive studies in his Shastras, and he not only has a background in science, but also our religion. Without further ado, we will now listen to our Vyaas.
Sitaram, everyone. Let us all clasp our hands now as we join in a few moments of prarthana prayers to the feet of the Divine Lord. Om Shri Ganeshaye Namah. Om Saraswati Madaya Namah. Om Shri Guru Charanakanda Namah. Varnona Varasangana Rasaram Chandra Samati Mangalam Jagatar Vandi Bhani Vinayaka Om Vakratunda Mahadaya Suryakoti Samaprabha Nirvignam Gurumedeva Sarvakarishu Sarvada Saraswati Namastuvyam Varikamarupani Vidyarambam Karishami Siddhira Bhavatu Me Sara Om Guru Brahma Guru Vishnu Guru Devo Maheshwara Guru Sacha Param Brahm Tasmai Shri Gurudeve Namah Namaami Shankaru Vande Shraddha Vishwasa Bhumina Yagyam Vinaya Vashanti Siddhas Pantashtamishwaram Om Bande Bodhamaya Nityam Guru Shankara Rupinam Yam Shrito Bhakti Chandra Sarvatra Bhanyati Rama Bhadraya Ramachandraya Virasi Raghunataya Sita जय सुमेरत से हो Sitaram, mothers, fathers, brothers, and sisters, and Special Sitaram also to our Dharmacharya, respected Gurujis, Pandits, the Kirtan Mandali, and all of you who have come from near and far to be with us here today to join in another session of Shri Ramayana Yajna here at the Shri Trimurti Bhavan. Now this mandir is a very special mandir to me for obvious reasons. I practically grew up in this mandir. My dad is the founder of the mandir, and I know the ins and outs of all the nooks and crannies of this mandir. That's how long I've been here. This mandir is 25 years old, but I'm still older than the mandir. And so this mandir here is a very special mandir to all of us, not just me. But it was generated with a vision in mind. A vision from a visionary, from our Dharmacharya. And his vision was so that the next generation would be cultivated, would be grown, would be able to be given the tools they need to propagate Shri Satya Sanatana Dharma in our community. And today, this entire week, we are seeing the realization of that vision that he had drawn so many decades ago. And so, my dear brothers and sisters, we must give thanks before we start. We must give thanks to this organization for allowing us the opportunity to be here and to bear such great stalwarts of our communities. We have in the beginning, on Sunday, you heard from Pandit Navin, who gave us a great katha centered around Balkan. And then he was followed by Pandit Vinesh, and of course Pandit Dylan Raj, and yesterday, Pandit Naval. And I want to give all of them, and Pandit Prakash as well. I want you to give all of them a big round of applause, as they have most certainly done us all very proud. And these are all my brothers. I consider all of them my brothers. I know they consider me as a brother as well. And they know that we are cut from the same cloth, meaning we came from the same guru. We have the same teachings, and we will do everything that we can to continue to move forward and propagate Sanatana Dharma. You know, the new generation, they're already here. We're already here, and we're hungry for the opportunities to carry on the duties that we need to in order to allow Dharma to thrive in the future. And it is by the vision of our Dharmacharya that we were able to do so. And this entire yajna, again, is the realization of that vision. Now, my dear brothers and sisters, please give our Dharmacharya a big round of applause. So before we begin the katha here this evening, let us all join in a few moments of chanting the name of Shri Ram. It is a very simple chant, Siya Ram, Jai Ram, Jai Jai Ram. A simple chant that can move mountains, that can overcome so many problems in life. Such is the greatness of our dear Lord. So let us all join now in chanting. Siya Ram, Jai Ram, Jai Jai Ram. Siya Ram, Jai Jai Siya Ram. Siya Ram, Jai Ram, Jai Jai Ram. Siya Ram, Jai Jai Siya Ram. Jai Jai Ram. this evening, the Katha here will be centered in Lanka Khan, where we will touch upon the greatness behind the name of Prabhu Shri Ram. So first, let us set the scene and recall that Bhagavan Shri Ram, he was traveling the forest by foot in search of his beloved Sita Ma. Remember, he was exiled to the forest for 14 years, and part of that meant that Sita Ma would go along with him. And in the episode there, the Ramayana, she was abducted by this demon king of Lanka, Ravan, because she was distracted by this golden deer. And Ravan, he was so in love with her beauty that he thought to himself he must capture her and make her his wedded wife. So Bhagavan Shri Ram now, he is traveling the forest by foot in search of his beloved Sita Ma. And along the way, along this journey, he has encountered many great devotees, such as Hanumanji, such as Jambavan, Sugriva, and other members of the Vanaras. And there, together, they would all forge an alliance to become the army of Shri Ram, so that they can uphold Dharma, to fight Dharma, and to rescue Mother Sita from her captor. And at this point now, as you may have heard from last night from Pandit Naval's Katha, at this point now, Hanumanji has just returned from Lanka. He just came back after giving a message to Sita Ma, telling her that Ram is on his way. And he brings news now to Shri Ram and the entire army, and all the troops, and he lets them know that there is an ultimatum at stake. He lets them know that within 1 month's time, Ravan had promised to slay Sita Ma if she failed to comply and to become his wedded wife. Of course, something that we all know would never happen. And so Shri Ram now, his brother Lakshman, Hanumanji, and the entire army, the entire entourage, they began to understand the sense of urgency that is upon them. So they marched forward now with renewed conviction to go about destroying Ravan and to save Sita Ma. So they kept marching now onwards to Lanka until they realized that there was still a very big problem that they had to find a solution to. And this problem, of course, that we're talking about is this massive ocean, this massive sea here that is in between the island of Lanka and the forest where Shri Ram and the troops are. And only Hanumanji up to this point was able, by the glories of God, by the glories of Shri Ram, he was able to now, only he alone was able to leap and make this journey across the ocean. But not all of the Vanaras are capable of such things. And so now, this was a huge threat. It posed a huge threat, because if there wasn't a way for the army to cross over to get into the enemy's territory, then how can they go slay the demon, slay all of those in Lanka, and how can they retrieve Sita Ma back to Shri Ram? Now, if you were in Lord Ram's shoes, what solution would you come up with? Anyone has any ideas? Well, I thought about this. I thought about it and I said to myself, well, maybe they could have just built boats. Doesn't that seem like the wise thing to do? I mean, a boat is a vessel. It is a vessel that serves, its purpose is to go across the ocean. Isn't that so? Right? None of you thought about this? Maybe they had millions, the armies were millions. There were millions of Vanaras that were there in the army. They had the manpower. And they were in the forest, so they could have had the resources. They could have took down the trees, get the wood they needed to build the boats. But the issue is time. Because how many boats can you realistically build? How many boats can you realistically build in enough time to carry all of the troops across Lanka within 4 weeks, because the stipulation was Sita Ma would be slain within 1 month by the sword of Bhavan if she wasn't by his side. And so both, while it seems like a reasonable answer, it just wasn't practical. So that was out. Both is not a thing. Scratch that idea. So then what else comes to mind? Well, I did some more digging and some more thinking. And I remember in school, we learned about, the parting of the Red Sea. Remember that? You all heard about that? The parting of the Red Sea by Moses and God in the Bible, you hear about that? So I said, well, why didn't Shri Ram think about doing this? He is the Almighty Lord. Why doesn't he just dry up the sea, part the sea, and then right then and there you solve the problem? All of the troops can go and cross into Lanka. Well, it turns out, as I was thinking about this, it turns out the answer in our mind was he actually did think about that. He actually was about to dry up the sea, but it is out of his mercy for the ocean, Sagar, who pled with him, who pled over and over again. Out of his mercy, he did not go that way, because to do that would mean that all of the species, all of the living entities in the oceans would also be sublimed. So now, Sagar, he gives an alternative, the ocean, he gives an alternative to Bhagavan Shri Ram. He says, don't dry me up. Allow me to live in glory as this beautiful ocean. I'll give you one better. I'll give you an alternative instead that will withstand the test of time. And that, my dear brothers and sisters, of course, he is talking about building what we know today as Ram Setu, the bridge of Bhagavan Shri Ram. And if you look it up online, they call it Adam's Bridge. They call it all kinds of different names. But it is a bridge, essentially a floating bridge made out of rocks. And it is considered to be a modern day marvel. So now Bhagavan Shri Ram, he's thinking and pondering upon this idea. And he's asking now, he summons his counselor, Bhavan, and he's asking him, well, what do you all think about this idea? Do you think we should go ahead and build this bridge? How is it even possible? Can it even be done? Nothing like this ever existed. This would be the first ever floating bridge. Nothing at that time. And mind you, this has to span over 1,400 kilometers. It has to span that many kilometers in order to reach to the other side, to reach the shores of Lanka. So it is not an easy task by any means. Very, very difficult. And so now, Bhavan, he speaks up now, and he tells Shri Ram, he says, Prabhu, your name alone is a bridge for which all mount and cross the ocean of mundane existence. Then what of this insignificant sea? This sea here that's in front of us, this is like a mere drop of water. It's like a tiny drop of water in a big, massive ocean. This is nothing. These 1,400 kilometers you're talking about, this is nothing compared to the ocean that your name, only your name alone, allows people to cross every single day from mundane existence, from birth and death. And Bhavan now, he continues to say, as Goswami Tulsidas beautifully writes, Shri Ram Jai Ram, Jai Jai Ram, Shri Ram Jai Ram, Jai Jai Ram, Jai Ram, Jai Jai Ram, Shri Ram Jai Ram, Jai Jai Ram, Shri Ram Jai Ram, Jai Jai Ram. Now, Sagar came up with this plan, telling Shri Ram that, instead of drying me up, build a bridge of these rocks. And I know just the two people who are best suited for this job. And there are Nal and Neel. these two Vandaras, who are the sons of Vishwakarma, the divine architect. Now they are the master builders, who are the perfect people right here in your own entourage, in your own envoy, that are capable of performing such a task. I'm sure of it. And John Bhavan now, upon hearing the words of Sagar and upon believing in his confidence, he then summons for the two brothers, Nal and Neel. And he calls them, only the two of them, no one else. Now remember, this is an army of millions. Now out of these millions, now only two, he asks for them to come forward, Nal and Neel. And he begins now to relate to them the entire story of what has happened to Shri Ram, to what has happened to Sita, why we need to go into Lanka, and why it is critical that we build this bridge. And so, the advice now that John Bhavan gives to Nal and Neel, mind you, these are two engineers, right? The equivalent of what we will call engineers today, architects, engineers. And they are brilliant. They are the direct descendants of the divine architect himself. But yet John Bhavan, he feels emboldened and he feels that it's necessary to give to them his 2 cents on how to build this bridge. You know, it's like if I hire a plumber to do a job and I tell the plumber, look, you're doing it wrong. You should listen to me. I don't have any credentials, but I know it's wrong. Now, how do you think that they will feel? How do you think the plumber will feel? Not good. He'd probably say, well, since you know how to do it so good, you do the job yourself. I'm leaving. Right? So, John Bhavan, he feels the need to input his 2 cents now to Nal and Neel on how to construct this bridge. Now, he doesn't give them technical details. The only thing he tells them is, he tells them to call to mind the glory, the name of Ram, and build the bridge. That is all he says. He says, Ram Pratap Sumiri Manamahi, call to mind the glory of Ram. And in so doing, Karahu Setu Prayasa Katinahi, you will find no difficulties in building this bridge. None at all. No difficulties. Now this is a huge undertaking. Again, this is 1,400 kilometers. They don't have things like AutoCAD and all these things to do 3D renderings to build a bridge. And I know Pandit Naval and Pandit Narine will know what I'm talking about, and he is very skilled in architect himself. They don't have any of this. Right? And so he's saying all you need to do is call to mind the name, the glory of Ram. Because I assure you, whatever plans you have to build this bridge, once you call to mind his name, then all difficulties will instantly go away. And so after he's done his bidding and he spoke to Nal and Neel, and he told him his advice, he gave him his advice, he then summons the rest of the army. Now this is a very interesting move. Because remember, time is of the essence, right? So what is the most efficient way of delivering this message? John Bhavan could have easily just gathered everyone around, all at once. He could have gathered and submitted an announcement, everyone come hither. We have this huge announcement to make. Listen, we're going to build this bridge. Nal and Neel, you're going to construct it, and all you other troops now, you will help them go about and do this. That would have been the most efficient way. Why did John Bhavan think it was most important? It was most important to let the architects know that in the very beginning phase of this planning phase, right? In the planning phase of construction, you have to have the mind conditioned to Ram. You have to have that mind conditioned to Bhagwan Sri Ram, because if you don't, all kind of problems, all kind of difficulties will arise as you try to construct this bridge. You see here, the mind, my dear brothers and sisters, as John Bhavan so rightfully points out, it is a very powerful thing. The mind can literally set you free. And on the other hand, the mind can trap you in a vicious cycle of negative thoughts and feelings. The power of the mind is not to be underestimated. And you must be able to control the mind and not allow the mind to control you. Meaning that if you don't force discipline in oneself, then you will easily become victim to the Shadripus, or the 6 enemies of the mind. And these enemies are 1, Kam, which is desire, Krodh, which is anger, Lobh, which is greed, Moha, attachment, Ahamkar, which is ego, and it's Matsarya, jealousy. So you have anger, greed, attachment, ego, and jealousy, and desire. These are the 6 enemies of the mind. And if you don't control them, if you don't grab them by the bull, by the horns, and get them under control, then they will destroy you. Now, out of all of these Shadripus, these 6 enemies of the mind, which do you think is the worst? Or which do you think does the most damage? I'll repeat them. And you just show me by a show of hands. We'll do a poll. You know, there's a Facebook poll, we'll do a real life poll. By a show of hands, who thinks calm or desire is the most dangerous enemy of the mind? Okay, no one, because no one raised their hands. So what about anger? Okay, a couple of people, 4 people, not bad. What about greed? They say greed is the root of all evil. You've heard that somewhere? What about attachment? Anyone? Okay. How about ego? Wow, we have a very smart audience. Very smart audience. And what about jealousy? Well, I gave it away. Ego exactly is the number 1 root of all evils. Ego. If you don't control this ego will destroy you. And the way to control the ego is that John Bhavan is telling Nal and Neil, they are scholars, they are brilliant, they know everything. They know everything there is to know about architecture. They can have a huge ego, but he tells Nal and Neil to call to mind the name of Ram, because you'll need it to do this seemingly impossible task. And so now, the ego here, when you're able to control itself, my dear brothers and sisters, you are able to uplift yourselves from any difficulties in life. You see, the ego, it seeks to serve itself. The ego is always in search of recognition and glorification from others. And soon enough, once you think you're high and mighty up there, you make other types of friends. Ego starts to make other kinds of friends, like desire, like anger, like greed, like all the other vices of the mind. You see, Ravan here, he was a man of a great ego. It was his ego that led to his destruction in the end. Countless times, time after time, Ravan was instructed to forsake this battle with Shri Ram. His wife Mandodari, she had pled with him to give up this idea of marrying Sitama. Pled with him to give up this idea of conquering Ram. But Ravan here, because of his ego, he didn't listen. He was the 10-headed Ravan. He felt that he was the Almighty. No God, no Devatas, no man, no beast can destroy him. He thought he was the Almighty, the mightiest of warriors. He had this ego that he just couldn't keep under control. And not only Mandodari, but you also had his brother Vibhishan, who had pled with him again to give up this fight against Shri Ram. And in looking out for his brother, Vibhishan looking out for his brother Ravan, what did he get in return? you got a kick to the head. That is how much damage the ego does. It completely shatters relationships. And again, he had his own son tell him to forsake the battle with Shri. So many times, over and over, so many opportunities he had to gain peace, but it was because of his ego. He simply could not cave, and he simply could not allow himself to go without at least trying to engage in battle with Bhagavan Shri. You see, my dear brothers and sisters, the ego here is a very hard thing to pacify. You know, they say, the higher you climb, the harder you fall, right? Meaning, the higher you get up in life, and if you're not grateful or humble about those achievements, the harder you will fall. The more it will hurt when the bubble pops. And it is a hard truth in life that difficulties, hardships will come in your life. They will test you. The bubble will pop. It is hard truth, it is part of life. But if you condition the mind, if you condition the ego, if you have Ram, Nam in your mind at all times, then you will be able to avoid the difficulties and the hardships that come along the way. And instead of falling, you bounce back. You bounce back higher than you ever before. You don't fall flat. The higher you climb, and they say the higher you climb, the harder you fall. But with a conditioned mind, with a mind dedicated to Ram Nam, then you will bounce. You'll bounce back when those hurdles, when those obstacles come into play. And you know, these days, my dear brothers and sisters, it is very, very easy for someone to let their ego go unchecked. I mean, all you have to do is live stream. Post a video of someone singing, post a video of someone dancing, put it on TikTok, on Facebook, YouTube, whatever it is, and you just sit back and watch, and you wait. You play the waiting game. You wait to see how many views, how many likes you get. You get 1 like, 2 like, 100 likes, 1,000 likes, then all of a sudden you get reposts and reshares. I don't even know what they call them these days. And then you surpass 1 million total views, and now you feel like you're the next viral sensation. You feel like you're on top of the world. Now the ego here has become so inflated that your pride ends up getting the best of you. And in that pride, in that moment of great pride and great ego, it brings insatiable greed, attachment, and even jealousy. Because in your eyes, or in the eyes of that viral sensation, they are second to none. And so, my dear brothers and sisters, we have to remember that this ahamkar here can, when if left unchecked, can indeed destroy us like it did Bhavan. You know, the Bhagavad Gita tells us in chapter 6, verse 6, Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Namaha Om Bandhu Atmatmanastasya Yenatmaiva Atmana Jitaha Anatmanastu Shatrudde Bhartetat Naiva Shatrubhata Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Namo Bolo Vrindavan Bhirad Ki Jai Shrimati Dharanami Ki Jai. In chapter 6, verse 6 of the Bhagavad Gita, Lord Krishna tells us, for he who has conquered the mind is the best of friends. But for one who has failed to do so, then that mind remains the greatest of enemies. The greatest of enemies. So my dear brothers and sisters, a well-conditioned mind means that you're no longer interested in things that bring self-gratification or edification, calm, krodh, or desire and greed. All these have been eradicated from your life. For that person that has conquered their mind, happiness and sadness, the Bhagavad Gita tells us, hot and cold, and even honor and dishonor, for them, they're all the same. Because that person According to Shri Krishna, as far as he is concerned, they have already attained his divine grace, allowing them to live in everlasting tranquility. You know, my sister, sometimes she shares with me these things on whatever she finds on social media. And sometimes I look at them and sometimes I choose to ignore them. Because little sisters can be annoying. And so she sent me this like snippet, a quote, and it said that in order to achieve peace in life, you have to subdue the ego. And that is what Bhavan Krishna here is telling us. And peace here is a hot commodity. It's something that everyone is so rampant, they're always after it. Look at the Middle East, look at Russia, look at Europe. Everyone claims to be all about peace, or looking for peace, or seeking peace. But the ego here, their ego goes unchecked, and that's what is actually causing the lapse of peace. It is one leader's ego that makes them believe that they should have portions of another country's land. And see, this peace now becomes broken down because the ego goes unchecked. And you see, my dear brothers and sisters, like the Bhagavad Gita is telling us, that person lives in everlasting tranquility and peace when they have conquered the mind, conditioned the mind. For them, they see pebbles of stones and nuggets of gold. They see it as the same exact thing. Now, if I was to present this audience with a bag of stone and a bag of gold, would you see it the same way? Most likely not. It is what it is. And so you see, my dear brothers and sisters, it takes great control, great effort to control the mind. And Jambhavan now, he's telling Nal and Neel, the very first thing you do in order to control this mind, in order to get rid of the difficulties of life, is to call the name of Ram. Because when you do so now, you start to see the world through a different lens. You see the world through a divine lens, a lens that grants you crystal clear vision of what is real and what is unreal, leading you from the darkness to the light to the eternal truth. So that is the benefit of being able to control the mind, because Rama Prata Sumiri Manamahi, by calling the mind, calling to mind the glory of Ram, you can situate the mind on the glories of him and allow him to remove all difficulties so that you can make divine connections with him. So my dear brothers and sisters, the point is that Jambhavan strategically tells us first and foremost, before you engage in any service to God, or any service at all, you must take the name of Ram in your mind. And in doing so, love and bhakti begins to engulf this body. It begins to grow. You know, repetition is the formation of habits, right? Now, if you go about and you chant the name Ram, Ram, Ram every single day, every moment of every second, if you just continue to do that, eventually now, this habit of chanting Ram, Nam, this habit allows you to become disciplined, right? Habits lead to discipline. And so once you become disciplined in mind, now the body now has no option but to follow. And once the mind is conditioned and there's discipline, then it leads to growth. It leads to growth of devotion, of bhakti for the divine Lord. And in this growth, together now, body and mind, you're able to unlock your true potential, so much so that something that seems impossible, like building a bridge out of rocks, becomes possible. And Bhagavan Shiva in the Shri Ramcharitamanas, he tells us, because there are going to be a lot of naysayers, a lot of disbelievers, that don't think that this bridge was actually constructed because of the name of Ram. You see, when the rocks were first placed in the bridge, in the water, they began to sink. When Nal began to build his bridge and out of rocks, it began to sink. But by etching the name Ra-Ah-Ma, etching the name Ram on each of the rocks, then all of a sudden the rocks began to float. They began to float, and one by one together, they strung together to form the bridge. And Bhagavan Shiva, knowing that people will try to deny the greatness of this setu, of this bridge, he explicitly tells us in the Shri Ramcharitamanas that it was not by the rocks themselves that this bridge was constructed, because the rocks themselves are heavy, claiming here that these rocks are not less dense, allowing them to float. And he said, nor is it due to the powers of the waters or any special abilities of the ocean. It is only by Ram Nam, by the name of Ram, that these rocks floated and was able to connect together to form this thousands of miles long bridge to cross over to the other side into Lanka. It is only by his divine name that this was possible. And Bhagavan Shiva knows that there's going to be disbelievers. You ever heard of flat earthers? The people who believe the earth is flat? Right? You all heard of them. You take them into space. You give them a one-way ticket and put them in a space shuttle. You take them into space. They see the curvature of the earth. They'll come back to ground and they say, yes, the earth is still flat. And that's just like that, you have still disbelievers of this bridge here that is built in Rameshwar. You have disbelievers. You have people that say, oh, this can't be. This isn't real. You present them with the images, you show them the facts, you take them to the shore right then and there, they say, no, it's still not real. It can't be. That is how deep this power of denial is. So you see, my dear brothers and sisters, Bhagavan Shiva knows. He knows that people will try to debunk, as you will, this modern day marvel, but you can't debunk it because it's not a marvel, it's really a miracle. It is a miracle by the name of Shri Ram. It goes to show the entire world how powerful the name of Ram is. And you have another example, again, in Sundarkand of the Shri Ramcharitamanas, where Hanumanji, he was going there as special envoy to give the message to Sitama and also to Lanka. And as he was giving his message, the hearty welcome that he received from Ravan was to light his tail on fire. Remember that? And so Hanumanji now, with his tail on fire, he flew around the entire Lanka, setting torch all the homes, setting them all ablaze. Now, fire, this is something you can't control. Once fire propagates, it is uncontrollable. And that's evident in all the wildfires that we've seen in recent times, in California and all these things, right? You're talking about thousands upon thousands of acres completely vanished, gone. Now, so this wildfire was started there in Lanka. And every single home but one had escaped its wrath. And you remember whose home that was? The home of Vyaas. And what was so special about his home? On the outside of his home, on the very outside, the letters Ra, A, and Ma were there. The name of Ram was etched right there on the home of Vyaas. That name alone was able to grant it protection from the supernatural power of fire and Agni. So that is the miracle of Shri Ram. It is said that the name of Shri Ram is greater than Ram himself. And the Bhajan here beautifully tells us, Ram se bada Ram ka naam. It is that the name of Shri Ram is much greater than he himself. Let's all join now as we sing. Ram se bada Ram ka naam, Ram se bada Ram ka naam, Ram se bada Ram ka naam, Ram se bada Ram ka naam. Ram se bada Ram ka naam, Ram se bada Ram ka naam. अंत में निकला ये परिणाम, ये परिणाम, ये परिणाम. अंत में निकला ये परिणाम, ये परिणाम, ये परिणाम. राम से भरा राम का नाम, राम से भरा राम का नाम, भरा राम का नाम, राम से भरा राम का नाम. सिमरे राम रूप बिना देखे काई लगे नाना. सिमरे राम रूप बनी देखे काई लगे नाना. नाम के बंदे पीछे आएंगे राम से भला राम का नाम, राम से भला राम का नाम. भज राम, भज राम, भज राम, भज राम, भज राम, भज राम. जिस सागर को दिल से डूबे लंगा सागे भगवान उसको ले राम का नाम. राम से भरा राम का नाम, राम भज राम, भज राम. Indeed, my dear brothers and sisters, the name of Shri Ram is so powerful. It is so majestic in many, many ways. And I'm sure that all of us have our own experiences where we are called upon His divine name and always seeking His divine help. You know, on the way here, leaving Boston this morning, I booked a really close departure with the ferry. I woke up a little late. I was a little sick, so I woke up a little late. And then I booked the ferry for 11:45 a.m. And it takes about 2.5 hours to get to the ferry from where I live in Massachusetts. And then from the ferry, I come into Long Island and drive home. And I said, wow, this is really cutting it close. I wasn't sure if I was going to make it. And so you said, you know what? I believe in Ram now. So I took the ticket and I wrote the name Ram on the ticket. All right? Now, as I'm driving, remember I have to be there before 11:45. Okay? So that in order to get to the ferry, you got to be there actually 15 minutes early. So 11:30 is the real time you have to be there in order to board the boat. Right? So as I'm driving now, it says ETA 11:42 a.m. So I was like, okay, well, this is not looking good. And now that number slowly increases. It's going to 11:48, 11:49, it's going to 11:50. And then it's construction and traffic, and I'm not expecting any of this on a Friday morning after 9 a.m., right? And then slowly the reverse starts to happen. And then it goes down. And I barely make it at 11:37. I make it, and I'm the last one now to get in to depart to the ferry. And it's because that's my own experience, my little experience of my encounter with the greatness of the name Ram. And I'm sure all of you have much more significant stories, of course. You chant the name of Ram, and you're able to overcome all sickness, all ailments, anything that's afflicting you in life. I know that Ram has showed you his miracle, his divine miracle. I know that. Because if he hasn't, you wouldn't be here today. We are all staunch devotees of God. We're all staunch devotees of Ram because we know what he is capable of. And you know what he's capable of? And again, the name is even said to be greater than him. So what is to be said about that name of Ram? The name that made this incredible bridge, this Ram Setu, it is so unbelievable that even Ravan himself could not believe once he heard back that Ram was able to bridge the waves, the billows, the seas. Even he was in complete shock. Because up until this point now, Lanka was secluded from the rest of the world because of its geographical location. But of course, Shri Ram, my dear brothers and sisters, he is the doer of the impossible. There's nothing that cannot be done by his grace, by his name. And so, my dear brothers and sisters, I leave with you this message. You know, I'm debating whether to continue or not, but I think I'll end it here. So I leave with you this message that the Lord, of course, his name is very powerful in many ways. And we hope and we pray that he continues to bless all of us so that we may become extreme devotees of his divine grace. Now, all of this, as I mentioned earlier, is not possible without the organization, the Shri Trimurti Bhavan. So once again, I want to give them a big round of applause and thank all of them for allowing this to happen. And Uncle Baba, I saw you shake your head no, but I was already committed. And so, for making this happen, the treasurer, Uncle Vishnu, all of the executive body members here of the Mandir, we want to thank all of them for allowing this to happen. I want to thank my parents as well, my first gurus, my mother and father, my guru as well, Pandit Tiwari. I want to thank him, my siblings, my nephews, aunts, uncles. But I want to also dedicate this kata here to my Nani. She recently passed in Guyana. And because of unfortunate circumstances, we couldn't make it there to go and see her and give our final biddings. But I want to dedicate it to her because she was a lover of the Sri Ram Chitramanas. She loved to sing the Ramayana. she loves to pray and chant the name of Ram. And she's a very staunch devotee, and she's forever missed in my heart. She was always like my number one biggest fan, my biggest and greatest supporters. She was someone who I cherish very dearly, and it makes me sad to know that she's no longer here. But I know she is in good hands, because in her dying moments, in her dying breath, you actually see her with a huge smile on her face, which to me signifies that Ram Dut, the servants of Shri Ram themselves, came for her soul. And so I want to thank her and dedicate this kata to her. I thank all of you as well for your attention. Prem so Sitaram Chandramani ki jai.
Jai Shri Ram. Well, you listen to our Vyaas here with tonight. Now you give another round of applause. I think he's done a very wonderful job. Don't you all agree? You all agree? Yeah. Okay. Because every night I ask the same question, right? You know that. About all the Vyaas. Not only about him tonight. Well, I think the presentation was very scholarly tonight. He was to the point, and he certainly gave us a lot of important messages here taken from the Lanka Kanda of Ramcharitamanas. So you're going to leave here a lot of information here tonight. And he spoke very elaborately about one of the 6 vikaras, which is considered a very powerful enemy, which is the ego. And he mentioned Ravan, who was the embodiment of ego. You know, Ravan is called Dasanan. You know what Dasanan means? What it means? Mean what? 10-headed. 10 heads. You know why he has 10 heads? Because the ego couldn't fit in one head. So you had to get the extension. Yeah. So you got to get 10 heads to hold his ego, and even the 10 heads would still not enough. So that is how you see it is symbolical. It's not like you see a monster with 10-headed monster walking. You know, how is it biologically possible for someone to have 10 heads? But he had, in addition to the ego, he had also the intelligence of 10 heads put together. But he also had his ego, which just overpowered him, which is the cause of his ultimate demise. So pride has a fall. And also, Vyaas talked about the importance, the power of Ram Nam that made the rocks float. And this famous bridge to Lanka that was built by Nal and Neel and all the banners. And of course, with the name Ram written on these rocks, caused these rocks to float. It was considered to be the first floating bridge in the world. We have one in Guyana, a floating bridge. Well, they're not going to use that soon anymore. They're building a real bridge now, as you know. But the point is that these rocks literally floated. You say, how is it possible? Well, it's possible. You can go to India and you can see some of these rocks. You can find some of these rocks there. There you'll see still float. You go to Rameshwaram, where that bridge was built, and there is a mandir there called Sankat Mochan Hanuman Mandir in Rameshwaram. And they have some of these rocks that was dislodged from the bridge were found by some of the locals. And there's a tank there in this mandir. And in this tank, they have some of these rocks. And these rocks still float. So I went there and I saw for myself some of the rocks from the bridge still float. They float, literally float. So all is the power of the name of Shri Ram. So the Balkan of the Ramayana also speaks very elaborately about the power of Ram Nam, Bandav Nam Ram Ragvarko, Hetu Krishano Bhanu Him Karko, Bedi Hariharamai Ved Pranaso, Agamanu Gunani Dhanaso, where Tulsi Raji speaks of the inherent power of the name Ram, that And the Nama late about Sindhu Sukadi Kahu Vichara Sujanman Mai. That his name itself is a bridge that takes us across this Bhavasagar, as our Vyaas said, this Bhavasagar, the ocean of birth and death. That's how powerful his name Ram. And you know what is so powerful by the name? It is said in the scriptures, especially in the Ramayana, that if in one's dying breath you take this name Ram, the dying breath, when the soul is about to leave this body, and you mutter his name Ram, the soul goes to the abode of the Lord. As in the case of Bali, for example, when he was struck by the arrow from Shri Ram, in his dying breath, Jatayu, Ram, Ram, his soul ascended to the abode of Ram. There's one person in the modern day history who did that, and his name was Mahatma Gandhi. The last words on Mahatma Gandhi's lips before he exhaled, before he expired, was, Hey Ram. The last word was Ram. Can you imagine someone struck by a bullet and you're in excruciating pain? And you got to think to say Ram. You think of so many things. You're horrified and in this state of pain, you really can't, you focus. But he had the composure at that point to think of Shri Ram, the Lord, and to mutter his name, Ram, before the soul exited his body. So that, and pretty sure there's so many other devotees. But in order for that to happen, in order for you to actually recite the name Ram in your dying breath, it means that during your lifetime, because Bali himself said to Shri Ram, Janma Janma Muni Jatan Karai, Anta Ram Kaha Avatanai. That birth after birth, saints and sages, they recite your name, and yet at the moment of death, the name Ram fails to come to their lips. So, in order for you to recite the name Ram at the time of death, the moment of death, it means that you must have a very close relationship with the Lord during your lifetime. It means that first, you must be in love with Shri Ram. You must not only love him, you must be in love with Shri Ram. If you're in love with Shri Ram, then automatically, when things happen in your life, whatever happens, difficulties come your way, when death approaches, automatically the mind focuses on the Lord. And you can't help but mutter his name, Om Namah Shivaya, Jai Shri Ram, Jai Ambe Ma. All this will come to mind because you already have had a very beautiful, close relationship with the Lord. So that when those trying moments come to your life, you helplessly recite the name Ram. So I think the presentation tonight was a very beautiful one. Not because Vyaas is my son, but I listened like all of you with rapt attention, and I think he did a wonderful job reciting. And I didn't have anything to do with his presentation. He did everything by himself. He prepared his sermon by himself from Lanka Kanda of the Ramayana. So we hope that you take this message, and of course we apply some of it to our lives. You know, it certainly will help. Mr. Putin also needs to hear this. And Mr. Netanyahu also needs to hear this. Because when you speak of bridge, we need to build bridges between nations. We need to build bridges in families, in communities. This bridge is very symbolical. And the bridge has a name. And the name of this bridge is the Peace Bridge. P-E-A-C-E, Peace Bridge. You need to build bridges of peace where countries are attacking each other, where the world is being torn apart by hatred, by warfare, by animosity, by greed, by jealousy that Vyaas speaks of. We need to build bridges. And if we build these bridges instead of putting up walls, instead of attacking each other, then think overnight we're going to wake up to a world of constant, continuous peace. So that is the symbolical meaning behind it, this bridge. And of course, if the bridge is going to will be built on the foundation of Ram Nam, then of course the bridge will be a bridge of peace. So that's what we've learned here tonight from our Ramayana. And once again, I want to give the Vyaas a nice round of applause for a beautiful presentation tonight. I want to welcome my Kumarji. He told me, he said he's not going to miss tonight. He came last night, he came tonight. And for him to come 2 nights in a row, there's got to be something really good happening here. Because he's a very busy man, he has a shop, he's tired, he works all day. So Kumarji, I want to thank you for being here this evening. Tomorrow night, our Yajna continues and concludes. And who's our Vyaas? You don't know? But Vishnu Ramprasad Jr., he's the son of our treasurer. And he is a very brilliant scholar also. As we speak, he's in medical school, studying to become the next doctor. He just started his studies in med school. And we are proud of him. I'm so proud of him. He's my shishya. He's doing very well, very humble, very refined young man. And he has also an important message to leave with us tomorrow from the Uttarakhand of the Ramayana. So tomorrow night, we're going to have the Uttarakhand as the concluding session. And also, as I've been mentioning, after Vyaas concludes, then we're going to have a very special presentation and dedication, a special tribute to the late Pandit Narine. Because I didn't want to exclude him from this yesterday. He must be present here as well. At least his voice must be heard before we conclude this Yajna. His memory is still fresh in our mind. So please come prepared for that, and please spread the word as to be, we're going to end this Yajna on a very beautiful, beautiful note. So the Tarsa group will also come here tomorrow when we conclude as well. So that is the itinerary. I think so far, for these past 6 nights, this has been one of the best yajnas in this entire community. I'm not making comparison, but all of you who have been coming here night after night, you'll agree with me that all our Vyasjis, our young Pandits, they did extremely well. I'm so proud of them. Give all of them a nice round of applause. They are simply amazing. You give them a chance and you see what they can deliver. You see how prepared they are. You see how much we can learn from each one of them night after night. All of them, they're all ambassadors of this Dharma. All of them, imagine where they're going to take Sanatana Dharma in the future. So we're very proud of all of the Vyasjis, including Pandit Prakashji also, who did a fabulous job here from the Sri Ram Church Manas as well. So, Pandit Prakashji mentioned something to me last night, and I was thinking about it, and I think it was a wonderful, brilliant idea. Because he told me, he said, now that we had this youth Yajna, and everybody knows about the youth, and we've seen how much talent we have in the young community, then we need to do a youth concert. And I thought about it, and I said, this thing makes a lot of sense. I said, it makes a lot of sense. So I said, okay, so this youth concert will be organized, just like this one, this youth Yajna, that will be organized by the youth. You all organize it. We'll be in the background, we'll give you the guidance and all the assistance you need. You put it together, we get some of the finest musicians and performers here. It'll be a cultural concert, we have classical dancers, we have singers, we have performers, and I would also advise that we have a little skit depicting some scenes from the Ramayana as well, where we have the youth playing Ram and Sita and Hanumanji and all these characters as well. A 15-20 minute skit from the Ramayana. So wouldn't that be beautiful? Yeah. And we should have that as early as a week before Diwali, around that time. When the Ramayana is in the air and Sri Rama is in the air. So Kumarji, we'll come to you for a sponsorship, okay? Because I know how much you love the children, how much you promote our Dharma. So we need some sponsors for this event because it'll incur some costs. And we held right here at the Trimurti Bhavan. So we'll strategize all of this, and we'll let you know as soon as possible what the arrangements will be. So that is a brilliant idea, Pandit. Thank you for thinking of this, suggesting this. Yeah. You have to listen to the youth, you know. So, so this has been a wonderful experience here for this entire week. And I think, as we mentioned, it's going to be annual, it's going to be every year. So next year, we're going to have our youth, they already give you the dates. It begin with 23rd of August and it'll conclude on the 29th of August. And the 30th of August, the day after, we're going to have our Ganga Puja at the beach. Tomorrow morning, in fact, Sunday morning, we're going to have our Ganga Puja. Yajna concludes tomorrow night. Next day, Sunday, all of us, we're going to go to the beach and many more. And it's nice shade and so on there. On the right side, when you go across the bridge, on the right side, you have the trees and everything there. So it'll be nice, you know, outdoors there. We'll sit and have a beautiful puja there. Kirtan group will be there. Young Pandits will be there. It'll be wonderful. You can go in the Ganga. You can take a bath, and you make your offerings to Ganga, and say your prayers. It's wonderful. The weather will be great. So please don't miss out on this opportunity, because if you choose to do so 1 month after that, it'll be too cold, or 2 months after, during the winter months. So that's going to happen, God willing, this Sunday coming. Then after that, you know, Pitru Patch. Beautiful, beautiful, right. So one of our scotas here, Myra, yeah. But tomorrow is her birthday. So she said she can't make it come tomorrow because she has to go to some other social function. Is it? I'm just guessing. It has to be that, because if not for that, she'll be here. Yeah. Anyways,
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, happy birthday, happy birthday to you. अरे ऐसन मनोहर मंगल मूरत सुहावन अरे नो सूरत होए राजा जी हे रानी जी हे लाली जी एक आज मूरत खूबसूरत लाली जी एक आज मूरत खूबसूरत होए बहुआ बहुआ हमारे नाराज हुई है राजा की नाच हुई है हो ललना 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 अभी तक को विठल दास्तानी हुई अब तो दास्तानी हुई हो ललरानी सब विठल दास्तानी हुई अब तो दास्तानी हुई हो लाला जन्म सुनो आयो रे सब तेरे बधाई लाला जन्म सुनो आयो रे सब तेरे बधाई तेरे बधाई सब तेरे बधाई तेरे बधाई सब तेरे बधाई लाला जन्म सुनो आयो रे सब तेरे बधाई लाला जन्म सुनो आयो रे सब तेरे बधाई जी नाचे विष्णु जी नाचे ब्रह्मा जी नाचे विष्णु जी नाचे विष्णु जी नाचे गणपति नाचे और नाचे दादा दैया पिरचे में बधैया आंगने में गोकुल में बधैया आंगने में बधैया नाचे आंगने में गोकुल में जन्म हुआ आंगने में गोकुल में जन्म हुआ आंगने में बधैया बाजे आंगने में गोकुल में बधन हुआ आंगने में कोई लुटावे अनधन सोनवा कोई लुटावे अनधन सोनवा अनधन सोनवा अनधन सोनवा अनधन सोनवा अनधन सोनवा कोई लुटावे अनधन सोनवा कोई लुटावे अनधन सोनवा कोई लुटावे रुपैया बिरच में बधैया आंगने में जोश में बधैया आंगने में त्रिमूर्ति में बधैया आंगने में मंदिर में बधनवा आंगने में बधैया बाज आंगने में बधैया बाज आंगने में बधैया बाजे आंगने में गोकुल में बधनवा आंगने में बधैया बाजे आंगने में गोकुल में जन्मवा आंगने में जोश में बधैया आंगने में बधैया बाजे आंगने में
thank you very much. Happy birthday, Amira. Yeah. Many more happy birthdays.
श्री सनकादिशेष अधिसार हो वरई पवन सुत कीरति रीति आरती श्री आरती श्री कीरति कलितर प्रीति हो कीरति कलितर सिया प्रीति आरती श्री आरती श्री जय श्री राम जय श्री कामत वेद पुराण छाओ शास्त्री सब ग्रहण कोरस कामत वेद पुराण छाओ शास्त्री सब ग्रहण कोरस निधन धन दो सने को सर्वस हो सारांश सनमत सब की आरती श्री आरती श्री कीरति कलितर ललित सिया प्रीति ओ कीरति कलितर ललित सिया प्रीति आरती श्री आरती श्री जय श्री राम जय श्री राम कलिमल हर विषरस भी की सुभग सिंगारी मुक्ति जुगती की दलन रोग भव मुनि अमी की हो तात मद सब विधि तुलसी की आरती श्री आरती श्री कीरति कलितर ललित सिया प्रीति हो कीरति कलितर ललित सिया प्रीति आरती श्री आरती श्री जय श्री राम 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 जय श्री
Clasp our hands in closing prarthana. We pray, O Prabhu Shri Ramachandra, Tvameva Mata Sivita Tvameva. तुम ही हमारे माता, हमारे पिता, हमारे भाई बहन, मित्र सभी हे आप, ओ प्रभु। If we have made any mistakes at any times, please forgive us, for we are your innocent children. Please protect us, please guide us, and please always show us the right way. Kar charan kridam va karyajam karmajam va shravanaren jam va manasam va paradam vihitam vihitam va sarvamet chamasva jai jai karunathe Shri Mahadeva Shambho Tvameva Mata Shapita Tvameva Bandhu Chasekha Tvameva Vidya Dravidam Tvameva Sarvam Mama Deva Deva Kayena Vachar Manasendriyirva Buddhyatmana Va Prakriti Svabhava Karomi Yajna Sagalo Parasme Narayanaeti Samarpadami Anyadham Sharanam Nasti Tvameva Sharanam Mama Tasma Karunya Bhavena Chama Chamasva Jagadishvara Loka Samasta Sukhino Bhavantu Loka Samasta Sukhino Bhavantu Loka Samasta Sukhino Bhavantu. We bow down humble obeisance and reverence. Guru Brahma, Guru Vishnu, Guru Devo Maheshwara, Guru Sakshat Brahma, Tasmai Shri Gurave Namo Namaha. Hari Om Shanti 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 Hari Om. प्रेम श्री रामचंद्र भगवान की, प्रेम श्री शंकर भगवान की, प्रेम श्री वेद व्यास भगवान की, प्रेम श्री त्रिमूर्ति भवन मंदिर की, सनातन धर्म की, सनातन धर्म की, सनातन धर्म की, सब संतन की जय जय सीताराम.
Let's all give our Vyaas another round of applause. As we conclude here this evening, I would like to thank all of you on behalf of the Shri Trimurti Bhavan for your presence here. It means a lot. I would also like to thank the kitchen staff, our Kirtan Mandali, Uncle Navin for sponsoring for today, our Shrotas, Sophia, Emily, and Amira, and also Pandit for conducting this puja here this evening, as well as all of the other young couples. There is Bhajan and Prasad prepared upstairs for everyone, so please be sure to partake of that before. Jai Shri.
I give Savi a nice round of applause. Wonderful job, our MC here tonight. Thank you very much.